Mais comment ça va, chef? Welcome to the Bon Ton Cooking Show. Today we're making sticky chicken and baked macaroni. So now what you need for your sticky chicken is your all seasoning, bell peppers, onions, and garlic, your rice, and your chicken. So for your baked macaroni, you're gonna need eggs, butter, cheese, evaporated milk, regular milk, sugar, and of course your boxed macaroni. Now let's get to it. So what you're gonna do is cut your chicken now. You make that thing two-step onto the board, and I'm gonna show y'all what to do next. So what you wanna do first is feel between his tetons, and you're gonna pass that knife right in between that. Split that. Comme ça. Then you flip it, and you find his back. You run your finger across that. And you cut on each side of the back. That way you pull the backbone out. Then you can almost feel where it separates right here from the leg and thigh quarter from the breast. And you cut through that. Then you make that run like I showed y'all before, like the chickens at the Mamu Mardi Gras, to find where it bends at. And you go right in there and you pie out that right there. And see, for a gumbo or something, I would tell y'all to take all that skin off, but we're gonna leave some of it to add to the gravy for the sticky chicken. So now you got your leg and your thigh. And for the wing, you're gonna do the same thing. Make that thing flap, and you can see where the bone is once you do that, where the joint is. And you wanna get in there and pacow that. And there you got your wing. And you're gonna do the same thing in that joint. Now separate them. And you almost wanna cut that little piece there off the wing too, because that ain't no good. Now, for the teton of the chicken, what you're gonna wanna do is pass your finger in there and pull the bones out the best you can. And you also wanna pull the skin off of that. So you got a boneless, skinless piece of chicken breast right here. And you just chop it up like you were gonna be making a gumbo or something. Then you wanna season it. And I'm gonna use that Justin Wilson because it got a lot of onion and garlic powder. And you put a lot of that. But if you're not used to eyeballing your seasoning, don't put a lot at first. I just did this for a long time and I know exactly how much I need. So you can start out with just a little bit at a time and add it as you taste it. All right, so you wanna put a pot of water boiling for your macaroni. And then you want to heat up your black iron pot or your Magnalite or whatever it is you got. And you want to put that on high. And you want to put a little bit of oil at the bottom to brown your vegetables and your chicken in. And you want to test that to see if it's hot enough by putting your little meat in there. And you see it's sizzling, so that means it's ready. So you're going to just dump all them vegetables in there except your garlic, because we're going to add that later. Then you're going to put your chicken in there with it. You want to mix all that up real good. You know, usually I let my bell peppers and onions and stuff brown before I put the meat in, but I just do it different for sticky chicken. So once you got it all mixed up, you got to let that brown real good. So you just chill for a second. Now that you got your chicken cooking down and your water's boiling, we're going to put the macaroni in. And then you're going to stir that. Make sure it don't stick together too bad. Now we're going to come over to the chicken. So we didn't add no water to this, but as you can see, it's forming its own juice. So we're gonna kind of stir it around, make sure it's browning evenly. And as you can see, it's not browning yet, but it will. Because that juice is gonna cook down and that's when it's gonna start sticking. But here's the little trick. While you still got a little juice in there, before it browns down, what we're gonna do is sprinkle a little bit of sugar on that. Just like a pinch though, you don't wanna put too much. Because you don't want your meat to be sweet, but it's gonna help that chicken get a nice brown to it. You're gonna notice there's a lot of juice forming at the bottom of there. But see, the reason, like I said, why I put that sugar is all that's gonna cook down and the juice is gonna get thick, and that's how it's gonna stick. Thus the name, sticky chicken. Once your macaroni is done, you gotta drain that and put it back in the pot right here. So after you drain your little noodles, what you're gonna do is pull that butter out your pocket and you put 2 sticks in there. I got 3 boxes of macaroni. I know that's a lot of butter, but that's just how I like my food. So you're gonna melt all that in there. And that's about the only thing with the original recipe that's on the macaroni that you're gonna do different. And extra cheese. So for those 3 boxes, I'm gonna put like 5 slices of cheese on there. You know what? And 1 for good measure. So that's 6. And since your noodles are still hot, that should all mix together real easy. And you need to make sure all that melts real good before you put your milk and stuff in there, because it'll stop it from melting and it ain't gonna be good. So after you do that, what you wanna do is crack you some eggs in a bowl. And I'm gonna do about 4 eggs for this amount of macaroni. So you beat that. Kind of like you're making scrambled eggs. Then you're gonna put your cheese powder into the eggs. And you just mix that up. And if it gets a little too thick to mix, you can add a little bit of your evaporated milk in there just to make it easier. It's going in there anyway. See, the purpose of putting the eggs is to make it stand up. It's gonna be like a cake after you bake it. You can cut slices out of it and plate it like that. You don't want to put too many eggs either, because if you do, then it's gonna end up tasting like scrambled eggs, and that's not what we want. All right, so now that your cheese and your butter's melted, you want to follow the directions on the back of that macaroni box. So it's 1.5 cups of regular milk once we use 3 of them, because it's 1/2 cup per box. Then you want to put your eggs with your cheese sauce in there with it, and you're gonna mix all that together. So our chicken cooked down and it's starting to get real thick, and you're gonna want to start scratching that. Because usually, like if you're cooking any other type of meat, you want to let it stick real good, but you don't want to let the chicken burn too much. Kind of like we did for the sauce piquant. Because I never added no water to this yet. This is just the original juice that's cooking down, and it starts sticking when it gets to this point. And that sugar I put kind of helps it along to get it nice and brown. So you just want to stir all that up, but you don't want to add water yet. You're going to cook it down a little bit more. And right about now, you want to add your garlic and just mix it in there. So you want to put a little bit of oil at the bottom of your pan you're going to put your macaroni in, so it don't stick as bad. And let that run all over the place. So this is what separates ours from the rest of them. You want to put about 1.5 tablespoons of sugar in there just to give it a little sweetness. And you mix that, and then we're going to put it in the pan. And you put that in there. You want to put evaporated milk in there. I used the whole can. Kind of mix that up without making a mess. And it's going to look kind of like this, where your noodles almost floating a little bit. Not floating, but you see what I'm talking about. Then you're going to stick that in the oven. So as you can see now, all that juice went away, and we got some grammy shell. So you're going to put a little bit of water, not too much at first. And you're going to scratch it all into a real thick paste. You see how brown that got? That's from putting that little tiny bit of sugar. It really makes a big difference. As you can see, it cooked down. We got a nice little grammy working. So you're gonna put a little bit more water this time. And mix all that up. And scratch that real good. It should have that same consistency as the beginning almost, except with more gravy this time. All right, so once you do that, you're gonna see your gravy is dark and thick shad. I don't know how well you can see it from there, but just believe me, it is. So you're gonna cook that down a little bit more and then add some water. But while we're waiting on that, I'm gonna tell y'all a little joke. So Boudreaux was drinking at the bar one day and had this drunk dude that was at the bar trying to showcase his fighting skills. So Boudreaux was minding his own business. The dude walked up to him and whopped him on the back of the neck. He said, "Karate chop from China." Then, you know, he dusted himself off and got back on the bar stool because he was at Cowboys. He didn't want to start nothing. So the dude walked up to him again and said, "Judo from Japan," and hit him again. He got up and he brushed himself off and he sat down. Then the dude walked over to him and grabbed him by the shoulder and squeezed. He said, "Nerve pinch from North Korea." And he got back up, but this time he walked outside. And he came back in holding a big old piece of wood. Then he hit the dude and he said, 2x4 from Home Depot. So when you check your macaroni and you see it's jiggling just a little bit, it's not quite ready. But what we're gonna do now is put some sliced cheese across the top of it. So in my oven, it took about 20 minutes to get to this point. But I don't like to give exact times because my oven is probably different from yours. So that's when it started getting jiggly for me. So I'm gonna put this cheese on top and we're gonna finish it in there. And the cheese is gonna get all brown on the top and it's gonna be good. So while that's baking, we're gonna come back to the sticky chicken over here, where like I said, it cooked down. So what we need to do is add some more water. About like that. And mix it all up. And from there, you're gonna turn that low and let it simmer. And right around here is whenever you're gonna taste it to see if the seasoning is to your liking. And you're gonna taste if you need more salt. You add the Cajun seasoning. And if you feel like it needs a little bit more flavor or spice, you add garlic and onion powder for the flavor and cayenne pepper for the spice. But if you use that Justin Wilson, that's probably all you need to use. So our macaroni finished cooking in there and we got what we wanted, our little brown tips on that. That's all nice and bubbly. And if you shake it, it barely moves, which means when we cut it, it's gonna stand together. Now that our sticky chicken simmered down for a while, it's all ready to eat, chef. See how the legs separating from the meat separating from the bone, and all our vegetables cooked down to nothing, and it's thick and it's dark. That means it's ready. It's time to munch. Join us next time on the Bon Ton Cooking Show where we're doing pan deux and on a shingle. Until next time, Parrain loves you.